You know, folks, I really do believe one of the hardest parts about going forward in the Trump 2.0 presidency is going to be watching MAGA celebrate his cruelty and watching them continue to paint him as a hero in the story and act like he's some sort of great negotiator and act like that he is playing chess while the rest of us is playing checkers. It's truly exhausting to have our intelligence insulted every day by people who do not have a clue as to how government is supposed to work, does not have a clue as to what this country was founded on and built upon. They just grew up on a steady diet of reality shows, and they saw a dude on a reality show saying, "You're fired," and then they thought that he could get into government and run it exactly that way. And that's going to be some of the most exhausting parts of this, is just watching them celebrate him and his ignorance, his stupidity, his buffoonery, and his cruelty. And there are a whole lot of people who here's a story like I'm about to share with you, and they'll jump for joy and be like, yeah, that's what we need. We need more of that. Because it's not happening to them, it's not affecting them. But I have a feeling if this was one of their family members, they may have a completely different take on it. I want to thank y'all so much for your support here on the channel, supporting what it is that I do. We're cruising towards 600,000 subscribers. We've made it over 500,000, headed towards 600,000. It's amazing to me how fast y'all are helping me grow this thing, and I truly appreciate you. So if you haven't already, be sure and hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything to do so. All it's going to do is help us out and let you know when I post videos, and then you can hit the like button if you feel like it and get in on the conversation if you feel like it. And if you don't feel like getting in on the conversation, you can always leave a blue heart, and that'll just help to boost these videos. The more engagement we have, the further they go. So I appreciate your all support, and this is not an easy article to read, but again, we're in Trump 2.0, and they're all about the cruelty. So I'm going to be reading this from Midas News. El Salvador offers to host U.S. citizens in prison facilities. Yep, I actually read that out loud. In 2025, the unprecedented deal would be illegal and would demand the deportation of United States citizens to other countries. This is from Aaron Parnas from Midas Touch Network. So, overnight, the president of El Salvador offered an unprecedented deal to the United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio that would see the United States send undocumented migrants of any nationality to the United States, along with sending violent criminals from the United States, including citizens and legal residents, to El Salvadorian prison facilities, including the country's most notorious facility, CECOT. In a new statement posted on Twitter, the El Salvadoran president wrote this: "We have offered the United States of America the opportunity to outsource part of its prison system. We are willing to take in only convicted criminals, including convicted U.S. citizens, into our mega prisons, CECOT, in exchange for a fee. The fee would be relatively low, but for the U.S., would be significant for us, making our entire prison system sustainable." I want you all to really stop and think about what we're talking about here. We're talking about people in our prison system that were sent there for something they did in this country, born in this country, being deported to another prison. This is absolutely insanity. But so far, Secretary of State Marco Rubio has not accepted the offer, but legal experts believe that the offer would violate the law because the United States is not able to just deport legal citizens and residents to another country, no matter how violent they are. The United States maintains several prison facilities around the country that successfully house violent criminals on a daily basis. Deporting violent criminals to El Salvador would, in essence, strip the citizenship of the criminal by forcing them to serve time in a foreign country. El Salvador, in recent years, has become known for its crackdown on crime, building out of the CECOT facility that now houses tens of thousands of gang members and violent criminals. And they've also been described as one of the most ruthless facilities in the world, with human rights groups calling for its closure over human rights violation. And that, folks, is the place that we're even considering. This is even a story sending citizens born here that committed a crime here to there. And I know there's a whole lot of people that would say, well, now look, we're just talking about violent criminals. These people are violent criminals. Listen, at the end of the day, they were still born right here in the United States of America. And they may have broke the law and may have done a violent crime in the United States of America, but they were sent to our prison system to pay a debt to us, to pay a debt to society, to our society, not to any other place in the world. To strip them of this right is not legal, and it's also it's not who we are as a country. This WWE style of rhetoric of like just cheering this cruelty on, sitting back and loving watching someone get stomped is not really the American way, and we need to really work harder to get past this. If they're violent criminals, if some of them should never see the light of day again. I'll agree with you. Some of them should never step out of a prison again. They should spend the rest of their life there. I absolutely agree with that. But to be sent to another country, there's no way I could get behind that. To strip them of their citizenship, I thought what prison was supposed to be about was for someone to pay their debt to society. And then if they paid their debts to society and the system felt they were rehabilitated, then they were supposed to be released. That's how it's always supposed to have been. I understand that our prison system needs a lot of work. I understand that it don't always get it right. I'm not sitting here saying in any way, shape, or form that it's perfect. But what it was meant to do was rehabilitate people, and that's not what's happening at all. And if you think just sending them to another country is the answer, it may sound cool, but that's something like your drunk uncle would say at the Christmas party, and you would have let it roll off of you 20 years ago. I have sat next to bars I've sat up next to guys on bar stools so many times, sat and hung out with people that would just sit and rear back and say the most outlandish things. And sometimes I would just laugh at it and say, yeah, whatever, and laugh at it and go on because I never took it serious. I've heard people say harebrained stuff like this before. This isn't new. Oh, send them out of here. Get them out of here. I mean, we hear that stuff all the time, but that's not who we are. And I believe in the rule of law. I believe that our side is way more the rule of law party. I will never let MAGA or Republicans ever refer to themselves as the rule of law party when they released insurrectionists and people who were found guilty of conspiracy to overthrow the government. That's the biggest one. They'll say, well, they didn't deserve to be put away that long for just roughing up police officers. Some of them were found guilty for conspiracy to overthrow the government. Seditious conspiracy is what some of them was found guilty of. And you know what that tells everyone that got that pardon? You know what it tells everyone else? Hey, it's okay to do that. So I'm never going to let them sit here and say they're the rule of law party. I believe that we are for the rule of law. We are for the way that things were supposed to be ran. And folks, this ain't it. There's a lot of people sitting back right now cheering and a lot of cruelty that's going to cause nothing but a lot of pain. And it's also going to cause a generation to grow up thinking that this is okay. And that's the biggest part about the Donald Trump era that really is disheartening. Because I think back on my life, I would have been 36 when he took office. By the time he leaves, if he ever leaves, he will have occupied 12 years of my life. I will damn near be 50 by the time he gets out. But I think about the kids who grew up in that era with that as their leader and their parents telling them that that was okay. See, I was very fortunate in the sense that I had a mom and an uncle and a grandmother and a grandpa who were very well-informed, well-read, history buff style people who taught me growing up and guided me. And I read and studied and I educated myself on a whole lot of things. And there's going to be a generation of kids that are going to be brought up in this country to think that that's okay. And every time they hear something racist or every time they hear something transphobic or homophobic, they're going to just hear, well, that's woke, ignore that. So much work that we did, that we put in, is being unraveled. And stories like this are bigger than just the headline. They're way bigger than this because it's the unraveling of everything that we've ever been about in this country. And I have that album behind me, The Unraveling by the Drive-By Truckers. I highly recommend it. Maybe I got to looking at that out of the corner of my eye and subliminally referenced it, but that's what's happening. We're witnessing the unraveling of everything we ever held sacred. And if these people broke the law in the United States, their debt is to the United States. And that's where they pay their debt to society. You're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. You're supposed to get a fair trial. If you're found guilty by a jury of your peers, you pay your debt to society. You don't get stripped of your citizenship and sent away to another country. That's not the American way. And I'm grateful that I had parents and grandparents and uncles that taught me and raised me to educate myself, read for myself, and think for myself. But there's going to be a whole generation of kids raised up in this last 12 years that's going to think all of this is okay, and they're going to deny any type of bigotry and hatred they see because they've just been desensitized to all of it. And all of this insanity has been sane-washed, and that's why we have to lift up our voices harder than ever and get them louder than ever to be heard. I say all the time we're on the right side of history. But if we're not loud enough, history gets written by the winners. And if we let them continue to get ahead, they're going to be the ones writing it. Let that sink in. That's why this is so important to do the work that we do. I appreciate your all's support. And like I always say these days at the end of my videos, take care of yourself and take care of your mental health. Take care of your family. And if you need to unplug from time to time, do so. But stay focused. And don't lose sight of who we were as a country and what we were all about. We have to hold on to our principles. And we cannot let them be louder than us.